Very briefly, Takaaki Morikawa is a survivor of the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima, and he's here to share his personal story with us. He is currently the president of the Friendship Force Hiroshima Club and a member of the Hiroshima Peace Exchange Association and the Black Rain Victims Association in Saeki Ward. He's been brought here by Don and Mary Lathrop, who are here, through the Never Again campaign that they became involved in a few decades ago. And we have a few other co-sponsors for this event, the Mount Toby Quakers, the New England Peace Pagoda, and the Upper Valley Worship Group. So without further ado, here is Takaaki Morikawa.
First of all, we will show you the 10 minutes video, and then I will continue to give you some idea of my experience.
A pocket watch stopped at 8:15 a.m. At this moment, all movement, even breathing, in Hiroshima City ceased. For a time in the 20th century, Japan walked the path forward. On December 8, 1941, it plunged into the Pacific War against the United States and Britain. That war was fought largely in the Asian Pacific region until the time gradually turned against Japan. U.S. war planes began attacking Japanese cities, and the ground became hard. Before the atomic bomb, Hiroshima was the largest, most prosperous city in the Chiyokushiro region. This is the Kaminjo area, seen from Mayoy Bridge. The building on the upper right is the Industrial Promotion Hall, now the Avon Dome. It conveys the city's tranquil atmosphere. A summer's morning like any other. August 6th, 8:15 a.m. An atomic bomb, the most destructive weapon in history, exploded over the people moving through the streets of Hiroshima. The atomic bomb detonated roughly 600 meters in the air over the Shima Hospital in the heart of the city. Assaulted by heat ray, blast, and radiation, the city was instantly destroyed. 100,000 precious lives indiscriminately stolen away. August 9, 11:02 a.m. Another atomic bomb falls on Nagasaki, a city in Kyushu. The atomic bomb, a weapon of horror, vastly more destructive than any conventional bomb. At the moment of explosion, a ferocious heat wave and radiation were emitted, along with the blast created by the heat wave. Then, fires broke out around the city. The complex interaction of these forces enabled a single atomic bomb to raise everything in a radius of 2 kilometers. 4,000 degrees Celsius, far hotter than the 1,500 degrees required to melt iron. Each destructive force created its own instant, hideous, unspeakable tragedy. In the moment of explosion, people were attacked by a pressure of hundreds of thousands of atmospheres. The city was pitilessly obliterated beyond recognition. Then, the horror of invisible radiation. Almost everyone directly exposed within 1 kilometer of the hypocenter died. People aiding the injured, searching for family members. Thousands exposed in the hypocenter area lost their health to radiation. After the blast, the bombing started fires that soon consumed the city, burning many to death in front of their families. The horror of the atomic bomb. Of the roughly 350,000 people in Hiroshima when the atomic bomb was dropped, it is estimated that 140,000 were dead by the end of the year. A full 40% of the population was killed by that single atomic bomb. Of the roughly 270,000 people in Nagasaki when that bomb was dropped, more than 70,000 were dead by the end of 1945. The dead included foreigners from the Korean Peninsula and elsewhere. By the end of 1945, it appeared that the damage brought by the atomic bombing had passed the critical stage. But over time, survivors who seemed to have escaped its clutches suffered keloids, leukemia, and other cancers. A great number died. The suffering and fear of the survivors continues over time. Damage from the heat wave, blast, and radiation. The after effects cause suffering even now. Despite the tragedy wrought by the world's first atomic bombings in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the United States, Russia, and other countries reportedly still keep more than 10,000 nuclear warheads at the ready. The Hiroshima National Peace Memorial Hall for the Atomic Bomb Victims stands in Peace Memorial Park in Hiroshima City. Opened in August 2002, it provides a place to mourn the A-bomb dead and pass on to future generations the Hiroshima tragedy through the telling of individual experiences. Photos of the victims and more than 100,000 personal accounts collected from around the country convey the A-bomb experience to visitors from Japan and around the world, appealing continually for a peaceful world free of nuclear weapons. What we can do now is inform ourselves about the cruelty of nuclear weapons and communicate this reality to those around us and to future generations. The accounts we bring you here tell the stories of those who perished and the sorrow and suffering of those left behind. In doing so, they appeal passionately for peace.
Okay, my name is Morikawa Takaaki, but it's easy for you to remember. Call me James in the English way. And I'm a hibakusha, which means that I have been exposed to the radiation caused by the A-bomb dropped on Hiroshima, August 6, 1945. Japan is an island country in Northeast Asia. There are 4 main islands, Hokkaido, Honshu, Kyushu, and Shikoku, plus other small islands. Population is 127 million, less than half of the population of the United States. And we live on a land smaller than states of California. Hiroshima is located in western mainland, 540 miles away from Tokyo, the capital. Hiroshima is on the inland sea and has 6 rivers running through it. This photo shows the scenery of Hiroshima today. Its population is 1.2 million, and it is the 10th largest city in Japan. Hiroshima has many tourist attractions and received more than 10,000 millions visitors every year. Among them, 300,000 are foreigners. The photo in the center is Peace Memorial Park, which was constructed as an expression of our sincere desire for lasting peace in the world after Second World War. Before the A-bomb, this area was called Nakajima, where my hometown existed. I want to mention some Hiroshima products. One of this is Mazda cars. I believe some of you driving a Mazda. Sure. For which I have worked for 40 years' time. Also, made in Hiroshima are main parts of your Boeing aircraft. It's 777 and other models produced by Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. Well, so far I have explained briefly about current Hiroshima to you. However, whenever we talk about the Hiroshima, we have to remember the unforgettable occurrence in our human history. I will introduce my family in 1945 to you. Father Hiroshi, 35 years old, broadcasting engineer of Hiroshima Central Broadcasting Station. Mother Akiko, housewife, 32 years old. And Mikiko, elder sister, 9 years old. The lady standing behind us is my aunt Kikue Kanda, who also died by the atomic bomb. We have lived peacefully even in a wartime. This old map shows my hometown of Nakajima 65 years ago. The current Peace Memorial Park used to be a busy downtown hub of Hiroshima City at that time. Before A-bomb, there were 6,500 people lived there in enjoying the happy and peaceful existence. Most of the people here died instantly by the A-bomb, since this area is very close to the hypocenter. We live in Amagi Hotel, 300 meters away from the hypocenter or Ground Zero. I was a vigorous boy attending the Mutoku kindergarten in Seiganji Temple even in wartime, kindergartners prayed, singing and dancing every day. And we used to swim in a nearby river. I'm sure you will wonder why my family member and myself were saved from the A-bomb attack. Hiroshi, as a broadcasting engineer in wartime, was in a position to monitor war propaganda broadcasted by Allied force every day. And he worked to broadcast jamming noise in order for the listeners not to hear the propaganda. 5 months before the A-bomb dropped on Hiroshima, he moved his family to his mother's house in suburbs out of Hiroshima, which was 5.4 miles away from the city center. Because he had a hunch that something would happen in near future to Hiroshima City. That was March 18, 1945. But unfortunately, I fell critically ill, followed by pneumonia, and I was hospitalized in suburban hospital with my family member on June 17th. Actually, emergency surgery was critically required. However, in considering the air raids in the urban district, Hiroshi, with advice of Dr. Kanda, my uncle, and a surgical doctor, selected suburban hospital. The surgery was carried out on the same day by Dr. Kanda, who would also encounter the A-bomb in Hiroshima City and lose his family members. We lived in a hospital until September the 9th under the lack of food, medicine, and daily supplies. However, I can say that our lack of surviving was due to Hiroshi's appropriate decision and thanks to Dr. Kanda's surgical operation for me. In the morning of the August 6, 1945, having had his usual greeting with his wife and 2 children, Hiroshi entered the Hiroshima City. Akiko was making rice porridge with us and them. Our mother was in the hospital kitchen. The time was 8:15 a.m. All of a sudden, the eastern sky became dazzling white, and Big Bang, with an air shock, smashed the glass windows, and shattered glass fell into the room. Akiko instantly tried to cover her children in order to protect us from falling glass. We had no idea what was happening, and all we could do was to pray to God and wait for the time pass. Getting back to normal needed some time, and when I saw rice porridge in the pot, it was covered with fragment of the broken glass, and I cried over it. But in half an hour or more, when we were out of the building, many people gathered and looked up the Hiroshima sky, talking to each other about what had happened in Hiroshima City. Soon, it became darkened with a waving smoky cloud rising from the eastern ridge, and much fallout with burned papers, soot, ash, and dust falling onto our heads. Children romped around the glove of burned papers. And then it started to rain with big drops. But it was not normal rain. It was sticky, black rain, which was not easily removed from skin and clothes. Then I, together with mother and sister, had been exposed to the radiation of the A-bomb. Akiko urged us to run back into the building. We were in an abyss of anxiety of Hiroshi's safety because he did not come back for 2 days. However, when he appeared, he was dragging a food. We became crazy with gladness and relief. The hospital where we stayed was not big enough and not well equipped. However, in the evening of the day, victims, looking like a ghost, flocked to the hospital asking for help. One of the victims, who lost his two eyeballs, reached the hospital by groping and creeping alongside of the river bank in his darkness and pain. I still remember their screaming and groaning from next door, but it became silent by the next morning. Until my release from the hospital in September, we lived together with many wounded victims. I, a 6-year-old boy, was very terrified to see them because they looked like red ghosts. These two pictures show the condition of the fallouts and the area of black rain fell soon after the explosion. I, with my mother and sister, lived in the Kubo Hospital shown in the map. A giant mushroom cloud below the board, carrying soot, ash, dirt, dust, and other debris high into the air. After the explosion, soot and other debris generated by the conflagration were carried by hot air high into the sky. This dust and soot became radioactive, mixed with the water vapor in the air, then fell back to the earth in what came to be called black rain. Even many months after the A-bombing, we were obliged to ingest radiation-contaminated food and water because we had no information or knowledge about radiation. This means we are continuously contaminated with the radiation through food and water. We were continuously contaminated with the radiation. Hiroshi died in 1973 by liver cancer at age 63, and 3 years later, Akiko passed away at 64 due to stomach cancer caused by the black rain, after having long-time apathy syndrome. Mikiko and I have to report to the doctors to have regular health checkups every 6 months. However, we very much worry about our health in the future because occurrence of the cancer in hibakusha is 4 times that of non-hibakusha. My anxiety became reality last year when, unfortunately, my doctor found a tumor in my right lung, even after 65 years. Back to my father's story, when the A-bomb was dropped, it was 8:15 a.m. He was in the building just on the staircase, climbing to the 2nd floor, and he fortunately had a narrow escape because the windows in the stairway were heavily protected. He lost consciousness for a while. The inside of the building was completely destroyed, and soon flames engulfed everything, including the machine and equipment, men and women. He was obliged to leave the burning building and to evacuate from the inferno in the city, accompanying the staff members who were wounded and burned to the asylum designated. He did not talk about the A-bomb for a long time to the other people, even his family. Not only my father, but also every hibakusha find it too painful to speak out about their memories of that cruel sight and hellish experience. About 45 years ago, just before my marriage, when I introduced the parents of my fiancé to Hiroshi, he defensively told them, "My son is definitely not a victim of the A-bomb." I can painfully understand the background of his excuse, because he has been in unbearable agony, not only physically and mentally, but also socially due to a discrimination after the A-bomb drop. These before and after photos shows the building where Hiroshi was then. This picture was drawn by Miss Yasuko Yamagata, who saw a dead mother holding her baby in her arms in front of the building. The scene of this mother and baby was officially recorded in the record of the A-bomb disaster, edited by Hiroshima Central Broadcasting Stations. The record said, quote, "The company of the evacuees saw a baby whose body skin was completely peeled off and was reddish with fresh blood, trying to climb up the steps of the front entrance of the building, crying. The engineer Hiroshi Morikawa stroked the baby's head and left there, praying for baby's long life. And the engineer Terakawa, thinking that the baby would die then, put the baby in the arms of the mother who had already died. Later, Mr. Morikawa described his feeling over this baby, that the warmth of the baby's head and the cute eyes he had seen in front of the building before the A-bombing continuously tortured his heart," unquote. My mother's parents' home was in Hiroshima City. The people on the screen are my grandparents, uncles and aunts, and the cousins from mother's side. Some died by the A-bomb instantly or afterwards. Some died from burns and injury. Some were showered with glass fragments. One died on her father's back. And some suffered from after effects caused by the radioactivities. It is difficult for me to describe the story of one of each of them on the screen in my limited time today. This man is Kazuyoshi Saeki, the cousin of my father. When I visited him, the hospital, he was in the oxygen chamber, and that was a couple of days before his death. August 6, 1945, in the morning, his mother prepared only 4 pieces of boiled potatoes available in his fatherless family and shared them with Kazuyoshi as a humble breakfast. "I'm leaving," this was the last word communicated with his loved mother. Kazuyoshi attended the junior high school 900 meters away from the hypocenter and encountered the A-bomb in the school building. As he had a chest trouble, he remained in the classroom and even survived under the crushed building. But his 280 classmates, who were mobilized for the house demolishing works, were all killed. He was taken to the hospital with serious injuries of the whole body, and after having sad trouble, he reached his father's home at last. He lost his left eyeball, and the doctor gave up many times on his acute symptoms, such as hair loss, anemia, and vomiting, and so on. In November, when his hair started to grow again, he went back to his home in the city and found nothing but a bone supposed to be his mother's. His life was hellish. Blind in one eye, an orphan, social discrimination on employment and marriage, all because he was hibakusha. He used to say that social discrimination was much more painful than dying. After his marriage, he had continuous anxiety over what illness his 2 daughters and 5 grandchildren might inherit. He has been ill physically and mentally and passed away at 77 years old in January 2008. The cause of his death was multi-organ cancer, including the cancer of livers, stomach, kidney, and large intestine, and leukemia. The minimum amount of the fissionable material required to sustainable chain reaction is called a critical mass. The fissionable material in the atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima was uranium-235. This U-235 was kept in 2 pieces, each smaller than a critical mass. This was called a gun barrel bomb. A chain reaction began as soon as the critical mass was exceeded, and an enormous amount of energy was released within a millionth of a second. The explosion instantly emitted powerful heat rays and radiation. The surrounding air was expanded by this awesome power, creating a tremendous blast. The total energy released by the Hiroshima bomb was equivalent to approximately 15,000 tons of TNT. The Nagasaki bomb equaled 21,000. The atomic bomb exploded 600 meters over the city with a blinding flash, creating the fireball that blazed like a small sun, more than 1 million centigrade as its center. It was 300 meters in diameter and brought surface temperature in the vicinity of the hypocenter to 4,000 centigrade Celsius. Fierce heat rays and initial radiation burst out in every direction, expanding the air around the fireball and creating the shock, wave, and blast. The damage inflicted by the atomic bomb was characterized by instant and massive destruction, indiscriminate mass slaughter, and radiation damage to the human beings. These pictures were taken immediately after an A-bomb dropped on Hiroshima and show the situation of the people. Please don't turn away from looking at this hellish experience. 140,000 people died by the end of the year. Unlike conventional bomb, the atomic bomb emitted a massive amount of radiation, penetrating deeply into the bodies. Radiation damaged the cells, altered blood, and damaged the lung and liver and other organs. The initial radiation emitted within a minute of the explosion was lethal within 1 kilometer of the hypocenter. Most in that area died within a few days. Many who appeared uninjured developed disordered and died days or months later. The explosion left residual radiation on the ground for a long period of time. Consequently, many who entered the city after the explosion to search the family members or co-workers and to participate to relief activities developed symptoms similar to those who were exposed. Within 1 second of the detonation, the fireball generated in the air grew to a diameter of 280 meters. It blazed for approximately 10 seconds. For 3 seconds, heat rays emitted in all the directions. By this fireball exerted powerful effect at ground level. People sustained severe burns from the powerful heat rays, and thousands died as a direct result. The burns were only on the side directly facing to the hypocenter. But as far as the 2.1 miles away, people suffered burns on exposed skin. Out of 1.2 miles, clothing on bodies or drying on the line ignited. Within 1.8 miles, electric poles, trees, and lumbers were charred. The surface of the roof tiles within 600 meters of the hypocenter melted and blistered. Please have a look at this piece of roof tile on which one side is very smooth, however, the other side is very rough. Can you circulate this? Thank you. Well, think about it. The melting point of the iron is 1,500 centigrade. The atomic explosion created a super pressure, high pressure of the several 100,000 atmosphere. The surrounding air expanded enormously, generating the shock wave, followed by the powerful blast wind. Approximately 10 seconds after detonation, the shock wave had traveled 2.2 miles. When the blast subsided, the air pressure in the center area was extremely low, and air rushed back from the surrounding area toward the point of the explosion. In the area from the hypocenter out to a 1.2 miles radius, wooden structures were mostly destroyed, though fellow concrete structures remained standing. Interior were completely gutted by the fire. When the atomic bomb exploded, the intense heat rays ignited the houses in the city center. It collapsed the house throughout the city. Kitchen and other fires quickly spread out of control, peaking between 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., but continued all day. The city burned as if to scorch the heavens. Within 1.2 miles of the hypocenter, the entire city burned to the ground. Countless people were trapped under the fallen building and burned alive. All objects were melted and fused into the sheet like lava. I have one sample here. Please have a look. A lump of the brick exposed at super high temperatures. Thank you again. Radiation effect from the atomic bomb extended beyond the acute disorder that appeared immediately after the bombings. It caused various disorders for decades and continued to threaten the health of the survivors today. In early 1946, burn scars on some survivors began to swell into keloid. In utero, survivors were born with microcephaly, with its attendant mental and physical disorders. Starting around 1950, the number of the leukemia patients soared. Even today, explanation of the effect of radiation over the ear are inadequate. Research and survey efforts continue. The picture of light upper corner, this one, was taken by a US airplane 1 hour after the A-bomb explosion and shows the A-bomb cloud is as high as 9.6 miles. We were under this A-bomb cloud at that time. And the light lower corner illustration showed the fallout rain fell under the A-bomb cloud, which filled with fine radioactive particles. The photo in the upper left corner shows the drop of the black rain leaving traces on this white wall. Analysis of this rain revealed that it contained a radioactive fallout such as carbon, silicon, and other items, including the iron contents from the A-bomb itself. The radioactive molecule emitted and penetrated human bodies at the instant explosion. This is external exposure, the left one. Apart from this, there were many people who ingested food and water contaminated with the radioactive dust and dirt of A-bomb explosion. Once the radioactive particles such as strontium-90, cesium-139, iodine, tritium, and cobalt attach to the whole body and get into the human organs. They continuously emit radiation and kill human cells. This is called internal exposure. That's one. Please have a look. The photo right below. Can you see? For the first time early in 2010, Nagasaki University photographed the radiation emitted from the fallout which was taken into the body of the Hibakusha more than 60 years ago. The alpha rays emitted from kidney were successfully photographed as two black lines. In fact, the total number of the world nuclear weapons declined from the peak of 69,478 in 1986 down to approximately 22,600 nuclear weapons by the year 2010, according to the SIPRI 2010 yearbook. Even if all treaties and current initiatives are implemented, planned cut in nuclear weapons by the START treaty, recently agreed upon by United States and the Russian president, will still leave the two countries with 1,550 nuclear weapons, and the world with many thousands of the nuclear weapons containing the unimaginable destructive force. While the United States is no longer regularly producing a nuclear warhead, the government is still providing the major funding for its nuclear arsenal. Not only do the United States and Russia, plus Great Britain, France, and China have nuclear arsenals, but India, Pakistan, Israel, and North Korea do as well. The highly publicized tests of the nuclear weapon when they were developed by the India and Pakistan showed other nations that possession of such bomb is a great source of the respect. So thought after that there will always be a temptation to take the risks involved in their production. The most powerful nuclear bombs ever produced was the Tsar Bomba, a 50 megaton hydrogen bomb produced by the former Soviet Union during the Cold War. The illustration right below, can you see? Is comparisons of the fireballs generated by the explosion of the Nagasaki type A-bomb 21 kiloton, the smallest circle, and the Tsar Bomba, the biggest one, of course, and other nuclear weapons, bombs in concentric circle. I really don't want to imagine the reality of the bombing with the Tsar Bomba on New York or the Boston. However, you can easily imagine what would happen in the cities by viewing the map of the simulated attack on the two cities provided by Google. It can be said that a Tsar Bomba can emit as much energy as 10 times of the total amount of explosive used in World War II. Here is a cenotaph in Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park dedicated to the victims of the A-bomb, and the stone chest, which contains the register of those Hibakusha who had died since 1945. As of August 2010, approximately 269,000 names have been recorded. Here, my father, Hiroshi, is also dedicated here. The inscription on the front of the stone chest read, "Let all the soul here rest to sleep in peace, for we shall not repeat the evil." It is our hope that people everywhere will come to embrace the spirits of these words. I have a question to you. Could your mayor protect your city from a bomb attack? Yes or no? To prevent any repetition of the A-bomb tragedy, the cities of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki have continuously sought to tell the world about the inhumane cruelty of the nuclear weapons, and have consistently urged that nuclear weapons be abolished. The mayor of Hiroshima and Nagasaki called on mayors around the world to support its program, the Mayors for Peace. The Mayors for Peace represent cities that have formally expressed support for the program. As of March 1st, 2011, membership stood at 4,540 cities in 150 countries. If your city or town is not a member of the Mayor for Peace, I cordially ask you to appeal to your mayor to join it. The 2020 Vision is a program promoted by the Mayor of Peace to eliminate all nuclear weapons by the year 2020. The 75th anniversary of the atomic bombings. Under this vision, Mayor for Peace launched the City Are Not Target current project. To express your support for our current project, we have petitioned to sign or take and send back. We deeply appreciate your kind cooperation with this petition drive. Afterwards, we will prepare the petition paper for you. Thank you. Do you know him? This is James. He is Jimmy. I have met Mr. Jimmy Carter, former President of the United States of America, August 22nd, 2008, in Americus, Georgia. I presented the framed embroidery of Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park. I asked him for his support of the 2020 vision, in which Hiroshima City and the people are campaigning to abolish nuclear weapons by 2020. Mr. Carter told me that he had visited Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park in 1984 and understand Hiroshima's mission to promote world peace. It is my unforgettable memory to have a chance to meet Mr. Carter, who really loved world peace. On February 25th, 1981, Pope John Paul II visited Hiroshima land and left his appeal as follows, which is now situated in the lobby of the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum. Please read it by yourself. Thank you very much. Everyone in this room, please look at this photograph on the screen. When I saw this picture, the dress of an unknown girl, I had a sudden flow of tears from my eyes, and I couldn't control my emotion. In my mind, I saw a girl smiling at me who was beautifully dressed up. Then, my vision suddenly changed. The girl who wore this dress became my daughter. Maybe she was your sister or daughter. Once again, please think about the girl who wore this dress. In closing my presentation, I'd like to make one final appeal. The A-bomb dome in Hiroshima and the one-legged Torii Gate in Nagasaki are witnesses to history. They help to convey the reality of the A-bombs and the importance of the message. No more Hiroshima, no more Nagasaki, and never again a nuclear bomb. Thank you very much for your listening. Thank you.